Welcome, and thank you for joining for another whiskey review. Today, we have the Glen Garioch 40-year-old. Maybe want to make sure I get this right, Dustin. This is the single cask bottle for the London Whiskey Show in 2011. Whew. Bottle at 43%. This one, Mike B, he sent us a couple more samples. Dustin does a really nice job. Wonderful packaging. And he sent us a whole group of interesting ones again.
I wonder where he gets these sample bottles. They're kind of unique.
I have to ask.
Only person I've seen these.
The little wood or the corrugated that it comes into is just incredible.
Yeah, it's a good package the way he sends it too.
I mean, I tell you what, anything that was distilled and barreled before I was even alive, always fun to get to. 1971.
Yeah. When 40 is just like that's a
big number.
It's a big number. 50 is pretty much non-existent. You just can't get 50-year-old whiskey. But 40, there's still some stuff out there, which makes it fun. So this is a Highland malt, Mike. I've never had anything from this distillery.
Never. Did I say that right, do you think?
I think you got it right. Glen Garioch, I think, is right.
Garioch. Glen Garioch? Glen Garioch, maybe? I don't know. You guys, if you have some history with them, let us know.
Yeah, so this is, like I said, Highland malt. I know they're supposed to be kind of a more like grassy kind of malt characters, what I've heard. Anyway.
All right, Dustin, let's get to it.
Lemongrass and hay.
Yeah, I was going to say it comes off very like lovely, warm lemon.
A little bit of lime in there too.
Yeah, lemon lime, but yeah, I mean, almost lemon lime like Lagavulin 12s are. Just that particular note on them, just very, very green.
We didn't do the research on if this was a hogshead or a bourbon barrel, but I guarantee you it's not a sherry bud.
Oh, for sure not. It didn't. I'm sorry. Yeah, it didn't say. This says single cask, but I would say bourbon cask maturation. Look at how light that is.
Or bourbon hogshead. It's one of the two. A little bit of butteriness.
Yeah, but the butter note is intermingled with a nice vanilla.
Yeah, that is a really nice nose on just a basic Highland malt with like bourbon casking.
Well, I think the oak note gives it some heft, like oak and vanilla.
The oak's just giving it like a nice buttered toast like character, really.
Yeah, like really. With the buttery nose, like a vanilla butter that's like has oak with the toast. You know what I mean?
Yeah. It's classic. It's simple. But it's just well executed. There's nothing about this that's blowing me away, other than the fact that it's 43% and it's got a lot of oomph.
I mean, now a little bit of pepper notes coming in. There's a spice note that's super sharp all of a sudden.
Yeah, there's definitely some wood spice coming through.
That might be wood spice. I said pepper. That may be. I was going to say white pepper, a little something, but that might be just wood spice.
That's kind of how wood spice kind of comes about anyway. It's a peppery note.
It's prickly though,
Yeah, I mean, it's not super sweet. It's not super sour. It's not super buttery. It's just nicely balanced with a little bit of everything. More on the sweet sour side than maybe on the spicy side. And I do like the fact that it's a little sour. Like it's almost like not a kid's candy, but something more sophisticated. Like some kind of chef wanted to give you a little bit of a sour like taste in a good way.
That element alone, I picked that up in the Balvenie single barrel 25-year-olds, which mine are like 29, but like that sort of wood sourness.
Yeah, I mean, this brings me back to some of the 20-plus-year-old Caden heads I have that were aged in bourbon cask as well. I mean, this is just a good quality, ultra-aged note. But not bringing in like those darker, deeper oak notes that you get on some of the ultra-aged stuff that we've had, like the Linkwood 37-year.
Very light and airy on the nose. Very light, airy.
I'm going to get a little bit of wood smoke now, right in there. Oh man, I am really impressed with how delicate, simple, but yet incredible this is.
Just before when I said light and airy, I mean light as far as the flavors are light. You know what I'm saying? Bright fruits, bright vanilla.
You're picturing a yellow color when you're nosing this.
Yes.
Oh, this is just so well put together. Well, what a perfect cask pick.
Yeah. I would say, those dominant flavors I'm getting, a little bit of that smoke or wood smoke spice, along with heavy vanilla, butter, lemon and lime, twinge of sour. This would be great whiskey sitting outside when the sun was out. or anytime. It's 40-year-old whiskey. Let's be straight.
Yeah. Ooh. So the sweet, fruity notes are much more subdued on the palate. It's much more, the older wood notes are coming through. I'm getting more of a buttered vanilla. And it keeps building as you swallow. Like that butter comes really strong. It's very buttery on the finish. I mean, almost to the point where you start to think, like an infection that's caused like sort of a slight off note like you get in certain beers. But it's not a bad thing at all. It's really hard for me to describe this because I don't think I've got a good comp for this. This is it's like umami notes coming in a vanilla lemon package. It's different.
And there's almost like a wisp of like, I wouldn't call it, I mean, the wood smoke almost takes you to a level where it's like a little bit dirty and sooty. It almost gets slightly medicinal right when you first swallow it. In addition to all those other things that you were saying.
Unpeated Lefroy, Mike.
I was gonna say Lefroy. I was gonna say. I mean, I'm not even sure it's unpeated. I think that's the wood smoke, but
There could be a little. Actually, there could be like 10 ppm here.
Yeah, I was gonna say like it does come off. It does come off like Lefroy to some degree.
Yeah, it's got that Lefroy lemon lime outside water lily kind of note, where like the water and the moss is coming through with like some rocks.
Just a twinge of minerality, right?
Yeah,
just a twinge of minerality. That, but then I mean, you get with that. I didn't want to say TPC because it isn't that strong, and it also just gives me just a quick wisp, a reminder of the wood note to me is pepper, and that pepper along with the buttery note makes me think, oh, like a super, like if you took the exact same recipe from Talisker 10 and just aged that for 20 more years and lightened it up a little bit.
There is even like a little bit of Talisker 25 in here, not the classic cast strength ones, but the modern ones.
I'm not going to put any water in this. I'm going to go back at it a time or two.
I was just going to say, I don't think I want to put water in here.
43, it's low enough. But okay, but again,
it's struggling with that.
Yeah, again, 43, I didn't feel that it was thin. But I feel like if I touch it at all, it's going to crumble.
It doesn't have an intensity to it at all on the palate up front. The finish builds because of the wood notes. But I just don't think you can take water. This is too good and too special a whiskey for me to risk putting water in it with such a small sample.
I'm not going for it. I agree and disagree with what you said earlier. I agree. I'm not going to put any water in it, but I do think it has a substantial mouthfeel for 43%. Maybe not the greatest. Maybe one of those old lagging ones were a little bit stronger, but this has an extremely strong mouthfeel for 43%, in my opinion.
I think it's above average, but the initial arrival is just a little too weak.
I could say it's more flavor driven, in my opinion. But
it's full of flavor, but it's just the mouthfeel is a little thin. But man, there's got to be a little bit of peat in here.
Yeah, we may be completely wrong. Maybe it's the wood that's just taken over, but that wood has a sootiness to it. Added a sootiness to it. It comes off like a super aged Lefroy, like Lefroy 25 or 30. Lemon lime, a little bit of that cleaning type of smoke note to it. And if you get that out of wood as compared to like peat, that's weird.
Yeah, there's old world funk. This is old stuff. This distilled, decades and decades ago. Again, I've never had this distillery. Maybe they just have a interesting,
Don't you have like now that you
character.
swallowed like on your tongue like a slight bit of soot to it, like something that feels sooty?
I've been trying to come up with what to call that. Like sooty's not a terrible explanation, but it's not what I'm leaning toward. It's a funky kind of residue.
When you're going vegetal, I guess I could see that like burnt vegetal or something like that.
Yeah. Man,
I wanted to go out this blind if I could, and man, I tell you what, this is not an easy whiskey to figure out. I'm glad I didn't look. Later, I'm gonna look like what cask maturation and what people were thinking the notes are. But
I don't know what I would have said if you asked me age on this thing either. I would have been looking at you like, man, I have no idea. Like
this does come off like Kalila 25, Lefroy 25, like old Port Ellens. Like this is 20-plus-year-old whiskey.
If I didn't say 20 years, I would be pretty disappointed in myself. But
so it's old.
Yeah, but I mean, I don't know if I would have gotten 40 or what I said 20. I don't know. I mean, it's so hard to judge with this. Because we don't drink a lot of 43% whiskey in general, but man, it's something really unique, something really different. Man, Mike,
Wow.
we really appreciate you kind of giving us some really unique whiskeys that we wouldn't have otherwise picked up.
Yeah, I appreciate that, Mike B. You have challenging whiskeys too. You know, like where are we at with this? What type of, maybe there is peat in this. I guess my thought was being a Highland malt, it was. They didn't put anything that it was, but it surely comes off that way.
Well, and I know when you go back far enough, almost everything used to be slightly peated because
Right.
it was just really hard to get malt that didn't have a little bit of peat in it.
So,
Nowadays it's set up where, they call them and say, hey, we want 3 ppms, we want 6, whatever, we want 0.
All right, Dustin, this is it's whiskey score time.
Man, that's a tough one.
Yeah, and see, this is not an easy one to judge. So let me go first.
Yeah, go for it.
I know it's 43%, but it has a good mouthfeel. It has a good finish. And maybe you did come off a little bit light. I pay attention to that after the first sip once you mentioned it. But you're right. Initial arrival comes in slightly light. Smells great. I like the smells. I mean, it wasn't like there was 15 smells, but when you're talking lemon, butter, lemon and lime, wood smoke, a little bit of, those are all just such appealing flavors to me. I'm at a 90.
Yeah, I was going back and forth between two numbers, and believe it or not, they're not they're not in a row.
Give it to me.
I'm literally debating between an 88 and a 90. And I think I'm going to give it the 90 as a whiskey score. I think my enjoyment here is 88. And basically, I think this is an incredibly well done, sophisticated whiskey that is incredibly complicated, and I wish I had another 2 ounces to really dissect this whiskey.
Agreed.
So I think it's a 90, but it is a little thin on the arrival. I'm not the biggest fan of ultra-aged bourbon casks from the Highlands, but I do like whatever that funky, is it peat, is it just wood smoke, what's going on there? I love that exploration. That's where my enjoyment is, which 88 is a really good whiskey that I'll drink every day of the week, but I think that's where I'm at. Is I enjoy it about an 88, but it is a solid 90 all day. This is well done whiskey.
I'm at a 90 in both case scenarios. I don't disagree with anything that you said before as far as the criticisms of it, but I just think the things that it does well is too substantial to call it anything else. There's a reason why they're single cast for a reason.
Yeah.
They pulled one out and they're like, oh man, look at this. I tell you what, if someone offered me this, especially to start a night of drinking at the 43%, this is a perfect one to get started with. I agree with you that usually ultra-aged bourbon and whiskeys are ho-hum. Sometimes I can't tell the difference between 25 and 35, but this one did a few things that livened it up. That dirty, whether it's peat or whether that's a super old school, gritty oak smoke or something. That was interesting. That set it apart.
Oh,
To me, that was as much or more enjoyable than the 425s, which we love, that we think are a staple of what a 90 whiskey should be.
yeah. I might even say this is a 92 on your exploration enjoyment scale.
For sure. It's a fun whiskey to play with and dissect.
Yeah.
I'm glad I didn't look and see what had anything to do with it.
No, that was an experience.
It was very good. All right, so those are our thoughts on this particular whiskey. Glen Garioch, 1971 single cask, bottled for the London Whiskey Show in 2011. 40 years old, 43%. Mike B, once again, thank you, my friend. Dustin, until next time, what do we think?
Happy show-stopping drinking?
Maybe. We'll see you then. Bye.